question is, what is money and what does it mean? And anytime there's a big change, there's always the rumor goes up and speculation and panic and all this.
Robert Kiyosaki, best known for Rich Dad, Poor Dad, champions financial education and the idea of creating assets. Now, he's voicing concerns about FedNow, the Federal Reserve's instant payment system. While FedNow promises seamless transactions, Kiyosaki hints at a more covert control over our bank accounts. Let's explore his perspective. So you've probably heard of the Federal Reserve. It's America's central bank, the big institution that sets monetary policy and tries to stabilize the country's economy. It's been around since 1913, so it's part of the furniture when we're talking US financial system. Now, let's get into something fresher, the FedNow service. Picture this. It's a Saturday night, and you must send money to a friend. Traditional banking systems might make you wait until Monday, or longer, for that transaction to clear. Frustrating, isn't it? Well, that's where FedNow steps in. Launched by the Federal Reserve on July 20, 2023,
the US Federal Reserve is going to roll out FedNow, a new fast payment system. Now, as you'll probably know, moving money between bank accounts can take days. However, with FedNow, it is going to take a matter of seconds.
This service is working towards making payments instant, secure, and available around the clock, 365 days a year. It's like the Fed's answer to modernizing the US payment system, keeping pace with our want it now world. And what are the goals here? At a glance, it's about real-time payments. Imagine sending money as easily and quickly as sending a text. That's the dream FedNow is chasing. It wants to ensure that when you pay for something, the money moves and zips from your bank account to the other party's account in real time. No more waiting or payment pending statuses that make you obsessively check your account. But here's the twist, and this is where Kiyosaki comes in with his signature eyebrow-raising insights. Is FedNow just a friendly upgrade to the US payment system? Or, as Kiyosaki suggests, could it be a new way for Big Brother, in this case the Federal Reserve, to have more control over our bank accounts? Kiyosaki doesn't take things at face value, especially involving money and control.
But what they need to understand is, again, 95% of those dollars were not green pieces of paper. They were lent into existence by a bank extending credit. And therefore, those dollars are a liability of a bank. Right. So if your listeners have an account with Wells Fargo or Chase, B of A, something like that, then, and what the depositors found out very quickly with Silicon Valley Bank, by the way, is that those dollars, which they considered assets, you got $100,000 in your account, that's your asset, but that was a liability of a bank. They weren't putting it in a vault. They were actually taking your money and they were lending it out, and you just had to trust that that bank was going to pay you back.
You might be wondering, why would the Federal Reserve want to control my bank account? Well, it's not necessarily about peeking into your spending habits. Kiyosaki's perspective hints at a bigger picture. In a world where digital payments are rapidly becoming the norm, whoever holds the reins on that system has significant power. It's about influence over money flows, economic decisions, and people's financial lives. So, while FedNow is billed as a fast, convenient service for the digital age, critics like Kiyosaki are urging us to pause and ponder. Is it just the next step in modern banking, or are we, perhaps without realizing it, handing over more control of our finances to a centralized authority? Interesting to think about, isn't it? Alright, so let's delve deeper into what Robert Kiyosaki has been saying, especially about systems like FedNow. First, Kiyosaki's been ringing alarm bells about centralized banking systems for a while now. If you've followed his works, you'd know he's not exactly a fan of putting all your trust in a single, giant system. His take? The more centralized the power, the more risk for regular folks like us. Think of it as putting all your eggs in one basket. Not the wisest move, right? Now, let's discuss the digital evolution in banking. Don't get us wrong, tapping your phone to pay for your coffee is cool, but Kiyosaki raises an eyebrow here too. He wonders, with everything going digital, where does that leave our freedoms? Imagine a world where every cent you spend is tracked, traced, and tallied. A bit much, right? Kiyosaki thinks so too. And then there's the whole what's going on behind the scenes thing with FedNow. Kiyosaki's been vocal about the service's operations being a tad shadowy. It's not just about fast payments, it's about who's pulling the strings and what they're doing out of our sight. He's hinting at a watch the watcher scenario. If the Federal Reserve is keeping an eye on our money with FedNow, who's keeping an eye on them? And that's the big question. Like, isn't it curious? An institution with the power to print money sets interest rates and now wants to handle real-time payments too. It's like the Swiss Army knife of the financial world. Handy, but also a little intimidating, right?
What 1984 is, Big Brother is watching. And the big concern with FedNow, or the Fed coin, the central bank digital currency, CBDC, is that we lose our privacy. That they'll track us, they'll track every move because they'll know everything we're spending money on, what we spend it on, who we give it to, and all this. So it becomes George Orwell's 1984. Big Brother will watch you via our money. And that's the problem with central bank CBDC, central bank digital currency, or the Fed coin.
While many of us are cheering for the convenience of real-time transactions, Kiyosaki urges us to scrutinize the fine print, consider broader implications, and question for clarity. Our money and freedoms are at stake. Understanding is our right. Let's delve into how FedNow impacts bank accounts. Its hallmark feature is real-time processing, ensuring swift transactions 24/7. This meets the modern economy's need for instant financial interactions. Forbes reports that FedNow serves 10,000 plus financial institutions in the Federal Reserve network. Private money transfer applications such as Venmo and Cash App are yet to be integrated into this system. However, this sword has a potential double edge. Could this efficient system also function as a surveillance tool? The Federal Reserve could monitor transactions with real-time processing, providing a detailed and instantaneous picture of money flow across the economy. Data's influence in today's world is undeniable. By overseeing a real-time payment system like FedNow, the Federal Reserve could glean insights into individual financial behaviors. This data might enhance monetary policies but also poses serious privacy issues. With such deep financial insights, concerns arise regarding its use and accessibility. This level of detail provides an unprecedented look into an individual's financial life, previously unreachable for central banks. FedNow's central position could amplify the Federal Reserve's sway over Americans and institutions' financial actions. It might offer the Federal Reserve the ability to exercise swift regulatory control. For example, in situations demanding immediate monetary interventions, FedNow could swiftly execute these policies, reshaping the bond between central banks and citizens. While FedNow could modernize payments, it also introduces profound questions about privacy, surveillance, and power dynamics with the central bank. This innovation warrants thorough reflection and public dialogue. Now, let's be fair and flip the coin for a moment. The Federal Reserve isn't just twiddling its thumbs while critics like Kiyosaki voice their concerns. They've been vocal in responding to such claims. The Fed emphasizes that FedNow is designed to be a secure and efficient service for all, aiming to meet the public's demand for instant, round-the-clock payments. They assure us that they're committed to privacy and security. They talk about regulations and compliance checks in place to protect data and prevent misuse. It's their way of saying, "We've got this under control." What's your gut feeling about that? On another front, we've got a slew of financial experts who are all in for FedNow. To them, this isn't just a new toy, it's a necessary evolution. They argue that in this digital age, where we can order food, hail a cab, and stream a movie in seconds, why should money be any different? In an article published by AP News in April, it was disclosed that Aaron Klein, a senior fellow in economic studies at the Brookings Institution, conveyed via email to AP that FedNow is not intended to replace physical currency. Instead, it represents an enhancement to the long-standing payment infrastructure. Klein also highlighted that adopting this service by banks could lead to expedited payments, reducing instances of overdraft fees, late fees, and the necessity to visit check cashing establishments.
That paper, exactly right.
The banksters have to then take your money and they have to buy another type of asset to make sure they can pay you the interest on your savings here. And what happened with Silicon Valley Bank, what they put their money into was all these debts and all these things, and the bank's assets went bad, and that's when the runs of the banks start. People want their savings back.
That's correct.
And that's where we're in serious, serious trouble right now.
These experts, including Aaron Klein, see FedNow as the US catching up with the rest of the world, as many other countries already have real-time payment systems. It's progress, they say. It's about time money moved at the speed of life. Do you think we've lagged behind, and this is our awaited leap forward? However, what about everyday people like us? Public opinion varies. Some eagerly await quicker transaction clearances, no more delayed rent payments. Yet, some are concerned about the real-time monitoring, feeling overly observed. Have you ever felt that convenience might come at the cost of privacy? And what about understanding this whole shebang? Let's be honest, finance isn't everyone's cup of tea. The language can be a maze, and only some have the time to sift through the fine print or understand the broader strokes of economic policy. So, where does that leave the public's grasp of FedNow's influence on personal finances? It's a big question mark. Are you clear on what it means, or is it still a foggy landscape? So, here we are, amid contrasting views and a sea of opinions. Where do you stand in this panorama? It's one exciting debate, isn't it? Let's zoom out a little and think globally. The US isn't the lone ranger here. Many countries are galloping toward real-time payment systems. From the UK's faster payments to Sweden's Swish, nations around the globe are revamping the way money moves. It's like a financial race, with countries vying to be at the forefront of payment tech. Can you picture that? A world where money travels almost at the speed of light? So, how are other countries approaching this? Take a peek at India, for example. They've got a system called UPI, Unified Payments Interface. It's slick, it's quick, and it's user-friendly. It's like sending a text, but you're sending money straight from one bank account to another. And guess what? People love it. It's like seeing a friend across the room at a party and zipping right over, except that friend is your money, and that party is the entire banking network. Do you wish your money moved that effortlessly? Now, let's turn the page to something even spicier. Digital currencies, especially the ones that central banks might issue. CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. Imagine a world where your dollar bills are as digital as your playlists.
People should really be worried about, as far as a central bank digital currency, isn't necessarily a competing currency to the dollar. It's not necessarily a Fed coin or Janet Yellen coming out and saying, okay, now we're going to start using this CBDC. So whether you guys like it or not, we're just going to force you guys to use this and ban cash. But what a CBDC really is, when you look at the mechanics and the financial plumbing, it's just the individual taking their account that they now have with Wells Fargo, that's a liability of Wells Fargo, and simply moving it to the Federal Reserve.
Sweden is already dipping into this with its e-krona project. It's a digital version of their national currency backed by the central bank, not a tech company or a shadowy group of developers. We're talking legit digital dough here. Do you think that's the tune we'll all be humming soon? It could be more than a trend. It might be the future of money itself. The big question, though, is how this symphony plays out. Are we headed for a harmonious world where money zips around safely and smoothly, or are we striking a more complicated tune? With advancing technology, we enter a faster, more interconnected financial landscape. Are you navigating this dance of digital currency and rapid payments as a leader, follower, or rhythm catcher? We're not merely observers in this changing financial realm, we're active participants. Where do you position yourself in this swiftly evolving panorama? Amidst discussions on real-time payments and digital money, let's take a personal view for a moment. First, let's consider privacy. In this high-speed digital transaction era, each purchase leaves a trace. A coffee, fuel, an impulsive online buy. Is having your financial actions closely monitored comfortable? Now, the balance we tread. Convenience versus control. Quick, easy transactions are appealing, but at what expense? Is the allure of instant payments eroding our independence? Do we reach a juncture where we ponder, is my money truly mine? So, what's a person to do in this brave new world? One step might be to get educated, know the ins and outs of these systems. Another could be to diversify, not putting all our dollars in one digital basket. Maybe it's about staying engaged, asking questions, and making our voices heard. Are these steps you see yourself taking? Because, at the end of the day, this is about your money, your choices, and your life. What chapter do you want to write for yourself in the evolving story of money and technology? All right, folks, let's wrap this up. If this conversation sparked a bit of curiosity or got you nodding along, do us a favor. Hit that like button, give a share, drop a comment, and, most importantly, subscribe. Your engagement keeps these conversations going. Trust us, there's more to dive into. Oh, and speaking of more info, there's a video packed with value you will want to take advantage of. So, go on, click it. Let's keep this dialogue open and thriving. Until next time.